Nearly every woman we passed, he'd make comments about her looking at him.
Well, maybe it's just because you're ugly.
Hello there, friends. Trace amounts of science. Promise swearsies it's just a fact. We're getting into r/DatingHell today because it occurs to me that I've not done the top posts in DatingHell. How did that horrible mistake happen? I have no idea, but we're going to fix it today. So these are the top posts of all time. It should be a really good one. So, thanks for being here. Let's go ahead and get on into this thing. The 1 Hour Nightmare. A few hours ago, I agreed to a blind date. Numbers were exchanged, phone calls were made, and she and I planned to have dinner that Friday evening. This is a timeline of said date. 6:45 p.m., I arrive at her house to pick her up. I know this seems odd for blind date protocol, but she had requested that, rather than both of us meeting at the restaurant. You can get one look at her and peel off the curb and be like, nope.
Dude, I'm telling you, she's completely psycho. Okay, she's in my house.
I pick her up because her car is not street legal. She walks out of her house dressed fairly nice. The one thing that seemed odd was that she was wearing enough eye makeup to make the likes of RuPaul and Lady Gaga cringe. As she approached the car, I could smell the distinct aroma of vodka. When she hugged me hello, I could tell that she had been pre-gaming this date big time. I opened the door for her, helped her into the car, and away we went to share a magical evening together. Yeah, this drunk bitch I gotta lug around. Alright, might be fun. She could be fun, but you're probably not gonna find out about, like, you know, the real her, the her that she presents while she's drunk. 6:55 p.m., we arrive at the sushi bar. I had suggested another restaurant for our date, a new locally owned restaurant that had received terrific reviews and was the talk of the town, but she declined the idea based on the fact that she had never heard of that place, and that for a first date I should take her someplace nice. The conversation in the car was standard getting to know you stuff. She complimented me on my attire, and then she requested that the music be changed from the alt-rock station to the hip-hop station, because she, quote-unquote, didn't listen to that Gaylord stuff. And she questioned whether or not I was a serial killer. You know, standard stuff. I mean, you need to put your foot down at this point, because it's a shit test. So it's my car and my music. You're not gonna come in my fucking place and start telling me how things go. You're welcome for driving us to the restaurant that I'm gonna pay for, by the way. You basically offer nothing. God, I'm already steamed up. But it gets worse, I'm sure.
Hey friend, listen up. I know the world is scary right now, but it's gonna get way worse.
7 p.m. We are seated and given menus. She opens her menu and orders a bottle of Tokyo Rose, which is a combination of sake and plum wine. As the waiter's walking away, my date opens her menu and says, "No, it's weird. I really like Jap food, but I just can't stand Japs." Uh-oh. What? Why would you come here? You come here and you say that. Jesus. I look up from the menu and search her face for any trace of sarcasm or irony. I also notice out of the corner of my eye that the waiter, upon hearing this, froze in place for a brief moment, shook his head as if he had imagined the whole thing, and then went on about his business. In that split second, he's like, I'm gonna spit in the soup.
First thing we do is we add a little extra gravy to the mashed potato.
She then continued on, "I also really don't like," and proceeded to list every single ethnic and racial slur that I had ever heard, and a good number that I had not heard before. The waiter returned with our drinks shortly thereafter. Yeah, I definitely need this if we're gonna fucking power through. Why are we powering through? 15 minutes, I'm exhausted already. 7:06 p.m., after placing our orders, I ordered a tuna roll. She ordered a salad because the thought of eating raw fish makes her sick. What? You came to a sushi restaurant? Then she asked me an odd question. Are you Harry? What? I can't recall if anyone had ever asked me that before, and I was unsure as to how I should answer. Well, I'm a 37-year-old man, so yeah, I got some body hair. I'm not Chewbacca, but don't look like a 10-year-old boy either. Apparently this was an issue for her. Well, if we're gonna do it tonight, then you gotta wax all that off, because I do not play that way. Yeah, me either. Have a lovely evening. I'd already decided before the date began that there was going to be no banging. That's good. Good on you. And this is a promise that's really easy to stick to. So I was not too worried about being violently shorn that evening. Quick to change the subject, I decided to ask her a question that might distract her vodka and sake-soaked mind. So, do you have any tattoos? I've got one. Her eyes lit up and she nodded excitedly. 7:12 p.m. My delicate flower of a date throws her leg onto the table, lifts her pant leg, and shows me a tattoo that wraps around her ankle. It's some generic-looking tribal pattern with a few kanji characters worked into the design. She explains that the Japanese script are actually the names of her future children, Dylan and Skylar. God, dude. No. I can't do that, no. As she rotates her ankle to show off the design, she knocks the half-empty bottle of sake onto the floor. 7:16 p.m., an amused waiter assists me with my attempt to soak up the spilled liquor from the carpet, while my date reveals her second tattoo. My other tattoo is a tramp stamp, she says, loud enough for everyone to hear, but I don't show that to everybody. Somehow, my brain thinks that it's a good idea to ask her, why not? Her response, because it's a big old heart, so when you're blasting me in the pooper, you know that I love you. The waiter and I lock eyes, as I attempt to develop the power of telepathy. I imagine our mental conversation went something like this. OP, dude, you gotta help me out here, this chick is a hot mess. Just get our food and bring me the check. Waiter, oh, no way, man. This is fucking hilarious. I'm gonna go tell everyone in the kitchen to laugh at your sorry ass. Well, no tip for that fucking guy.
Wouldn't let that shit happen to me, though.
He promptly vanished into the kitchen. 7:23 p.m. Our food arrives with the hope that my dining companion might be too preoccupied with her salad to continue speaking, and my hope is quickly destroyed. She began talking about her last job and why she was fired from it. According to her, she was working as an office temp when there was some type of altercation between herself and her manager. The reason she was let go was because he was too much of a sissy to fight like a man. I still have no idea what that meant. And I often find myself lying awake at night, pondering what exactly happened. She challenged him to fight, he didn't want to fight her. Anyway, I tried to change the subject by discussing films. Did she have a favorite film? If so, what was it? As it turns out, she was a fan of cinema. Her current favorite movie, Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers. I also enjoyed the film, but for reasons quite different from hers. Instead of citing Stone's use of blunt violence, mixed media, different film stock, and the sometimes shocking juxtaposition of the horrors of American suburban life, with the colorful, media-happy world of the 1990s, her reason was just, Mallory Knox is fucking hot! And she went on to quote every single line of dialogue uttered by Juliette Lewis in that film. 7:26 p.m. How sexy am I now, fucker? She screamed as she stood in her chair, one foot planted centimeters away from my empty plate. In order to calm things down, I decided to switch the subject yet again. This time, I decided to try and learn about her family. That's a good idea. Something has to explain this. I offered that I had one younger brother and two adorable nieces. She said that the only family she had was her mother, and she lived with her mother. She went into detail about the fights that she and her mother would have on a daily basis, and how her mother did not understand the stress that she dealt with in her everyday life. This, she explained, was why it was vital that she'd be able to continue her strict regimen of Prozac and vodka. Yeah, sounds advisable. I could see the storm clouds gathering in her eyes as she went on. And my mama just doesn't understand how tough it is. If she would just get a better job, maybe I wouldn't have to collect unemployment. What the fuck? We are scraping the bottomest of the barrel right now. This is crazy. I mean, I have to remember to turn in that paperwork once a week? The dam holding back her emotions finally burst and she began crying, turning her eye makeup into dark rivers of grief. Bro, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
This is a f***ing nightmare!
I'm gonna go just get the guy and pay the thing and climb out a window. 7:30 p.m. The helpful and courteous waiter appeared at the table, looking resplendent in his branded apron and shit-eating grin. Can I get you to anything else? He offered, and I leaned over and said, just the check, please. He looked at me, looked at the sobbing train wreck in the opposite chair, turned his head, looked me in the eye, and said, not yet. And again, vanished into the kitchen. No, I'm going to twist your arm. Give me the little machine. I'll put the card in it. I gotta get the fuck out of here, man. 7:35 p.m. After ruining 2 napkins, I was finally able to stop the flow of tears coming from my date. The waiter, realizing that his last stunt more than likely cost him a tip, returned with the check. I quickly gave him my card, which he ran with all haste. As I signed the tab, my date said, "So what are we doing now?" As if nothing had happened. You're going home. I'm going to go think about my life. 7:45 p.m. As I pulled my car onto her street, she said, "You're not gonna call me back, I can tell." Not wanting to hurt her feelings or risk having her go feral while still in my car. I said, I just don't think I'm the right guy for you. I decided not to enumerate the reasons for this decision, those being that I own no clothes designed by Ed Hardy, I have no illegitimate children, I was not training to be an MMA fighter, and despite being a huge fan of the show Breaking Bad, I have absolutely no idea how to cook Crystal. When we pulled into her driveway, she began crying again. Oh God, last ditch. Just swing the door open and kick her out. Unbuckle the seatbelt and boom! You can get her in one fell swoop, you just gotta practice a little bit.
Ejectocito, cuz!
Why is the date over? It's not even 8 and I'm not even drunk yet. I exited the vehicle and opened the passenger side door, partly because I'm a gentleman and partly to give her the hint that it was time to get the fuck out of my car. She stood in front of me, crying, her head in her hands. Not being a monster, I decided to give her a hug. As soon as I pulled her close to me, she raised her head and sunk her teeth into my neck. You did not misread that. That crazy bitch bit me. Thankfully, she didn't break the skin. As soon as she released her grip, she ran full speed into her garage, screaming, "Screw you! You're freaking gay, Lord!" And as I got in my car, my cell phone rang. It was my rescue call. I answered, staring off into space like Martin Sheen at the end of Apocalypse Now. "Hey man, how's your date going?" asked my friend. The only thing I could mutter was, "The horror. The horror!" Epilogue. My morning routine's fairly boring. Wake up, check mail, read news while enjoy a cup of coffee. Check my phone for messages, very pedestrian stuff. But every now and then, when I pick up my phone while pouring my coffee, I will find text messages sent between 1 and 5 a.m. from a number labeled "Do Not Answer." Sometimes they are nudes, sometimes they're violent threats. Each time I slowly reach up and rub the spot on my neck, which had suddenly began throbbing. Dude, yeah, don't fall for that. You swerved a very dangerous situation here, OP. God damn. That's so wild.
Gubbins read the scroll of madness, and now Gubbins afraid to date, afraid to sleep, afraid of women who drink anger juice and bite like cave hyena. This blind date is a cursed quest. Gubbins.
That's right. Always drink your anger juice in moderation. She's clearly got more problems than any therapist on earth can solve, and I don't know. At this point, I think we're just trying to contain the amount of damage that she can do. Wild post. I love it. It deserves to be the top post, honestly. It's like a real poetic ending. We still got time, so we'll get into some more. If you're enjoying it, let me know with a super chat. You can listen to this on Spotify and iTunes anytime you want. Also YouTube Music, but I mean kind of inferred. Anyway, I'll see you over on our next post. My first and last blind date. Now, this blind date thing doesn't seem to work out too well, does it? I shared this story once in an Ask Reddit. I've only been on a blind date once. It's not a good sign. A friend of mine had the brilliant idea that I would simply be perfect for a male friend of hers. I had been single for a while, and since I wasn't having any luck on my own, why not get a little boost from a friend? Yeah, a little alley-oop feels good. An important part of the story, I made it clear with my friend that the guy she was setting me up with was fine with girls on the darker side of life. I've always been weird, gothy, nerdy, and while I don't exclusively date other goths, I just wanted to be polite, so he wouldn't be shocked to see a girl with a septum ring and an extremely pale complexion. She assured me that not only did he like goth girls, he liked Lord of the Rings and science fiction books as well. Oh yeah, we're gonna nerd out real good. OP says I was now actually really excited for this date. It was agreed that we'd meet for dinner and then go see a movie. Standard first date fare. We met, and I thought he was cute, and he seemed very nice and polite, and I made a note to thank my friend for her matchmaking. We got appetizers and discussed boring things, and after the appetizer was cleared, and we were waiting for the main dish, he asked how things were going, and I said I was having a lovely time. Then, he dropped a bombshell. He had a very serious expression, and said that in order for me to quote-unquote be with him, then some things had to change. And I stupidly asked, well, what do you mean? Well, he was ready to tell me what had to happen for me to be with him and be seen with him. I'd have to remove all my piercings and remove all my tattoos. I actually had no tattoos at that time. Stop with the goth look. Don't worry, he was going to take me shopping and assured me he had excellent taste. Get a tan, grow out my hair, and dye it a normal color. My hair was short and dyed black. Don't like most people in the world have black hair? Lose weight. I'm 1.76 meters tall and weigh 60 pounds, give or take. For Americans, I'm 5'8" and weigh 140. He stated there would be no more video games and no more D&D. Well, that's egregious. No more horror movies. I mentioned that I really only like horror movies. Well, it's just like my wife. That's all she wants to watch is people killing each other. I'm like, do you enjoy this? I hope you enjoy that on some level, darling. Me personally, I enjoy a laugh a little bit more, but whatever. Doing like all the think pieces, I'm sort of discovering my sad boyness, my resignation towards things. Truly check out any of the think pieces we did recently. I'm rather proud of them indeed. Anyway, yeah, after all that bullshit that he said, only then would I be ready for him to be seen with me and to accept me as a girlfriend. He didn't say this in a mocking tone. He was quite serious that he was willing to pay for me to be wholly made over, and then I'd be awesome. At this point, I probably had a really stupid expression on my face. My face felt like it was on fire. I almost wanted to cry. I kept opening my mouth to say something, but no words would come, so I probably looked like a tomato-faced baby bird. Throw a chicken tender in there or something. Hurry. I think she's hungry.
Give me 10 days!
I'm surprised by people who have nothing to say sometimes. I mean, I guess I do too, but Even a simple fuck you will do, you know? Just say something, brain. It will. It always does. So this dude was really chuffed with himself and kept telling me how I look so rubbish now, but once I got a tan and started dressing and acting like a normal girl, man, I'd be a knockout. Yeah, just change everything about like who you are. I don't like how you dress or act or your existence, so if we could just change all of that, then I'd totally go out with you. Yeah, what an offer. I pass. The waitress came over with dinner, and she gave me an odd look, probably because I looked quite insane, and to be honest, my head was still spinning. I've been picked on and bullied a lot, but this was almost worse, in a way, than when people used to spit on me and throw garbage. Damn, didn't you have, like, a squad or something? The Goth kids didn't posse up?
Life will become death, and I will watch the crimson blood leak from your neck.
I know the fucking punk kids are just, like, rowdy as shit. They'll spit and throw garbage at each other, but you don't get to. I am sorry to hear that, though, OP. That sucks ass. Now, this next part is a little bit bad. In my haze of rage/hurt, I pushed my plate of pasta over to him and unceremoniously dumped it into his lap. I grabbed my purse and walked out of the restaurant. Then I got frightened, thinking that he might come and beat me up, so I hid for a little while. Jesus. I can't imagine that. That's like so not within my frame of reference. But yeah, I'm glad you did what you had to do to stay safe. Did he come and try to beat you up? Did he look for you at all? OP says I just called a friend to come and pick me up. I know it's not right to dump food on people, and it's not right to waste food, but it just happened. No way. There was a split-second decision where you said, yes, this. And you have to accept that about yourself. Know that about yourself. Maybe do better next time. Maybe just accept the consequences when it happens. I can't tell you how to live. Opie says, I'm not gonna lie, I went home and spent the evening sobbing. The next day, my friend who had set up this disaster was curious to know how it went. And I told her. She was shocked. She wasn't angry at me, but she was furious with this dude, and I wasn't angry at her. She clearly had no idea it would go so badly. I mean, where do you even know this fucking dude from? To this day, I don't really know what his deal was. Maybe he wanted a girlfriend he could build from the ground up. Also, since the date, I've not changed my style or appearance. I might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I'm happy being spooky and nerdy, and I don't need to compromise my appearance to find someone to love me. Plus, giving up video games and horror movies is simply not possible. What world would I want to live in where it would be possible? No, we're not doing any of that shit. Take me as I am, and I don't know, maybe we can gradually guide each other towards something better. But he's trying to, like, this wild-ass, mega-negging power play that, yeah, I don't know. I hope it never worked. I hope it's just a problem with his self-awareness. But I can't really say for sure.
Men say he want build perfect woman. Gubbins say go build Lego, not traumatize goth queen over dinner pasta. Gubbins.
Don't come after Lego like that, Gubbins. Legos didn't hurt nobody. That's a completely arbitrary thing that he picked. I know there's some feral Lego fans out there. Anyway, we still got time for some more, I think. So, yeah, why not keep it rolling along? This OP says, he spent the date trying to convince me that every other woman we saw was checking him out. Oh yeah, I'm desirable. Totally. TLDR, went out with a dude. He spent most of the date mentioning how every single girl ever wants him. The title pretty much sums it up. Well, why not take the ride anyway, you know? This guy and I had liked each other on and off for a while. We both came from the same hometown, but had gone to different high schools. A few times a year, it would seem that we'd bump into each other as we rotated in some of the same friend groups, especially in the latter part of high school, and after graduation when we started going to get-togethers and parties. We'd bump into each other after months and months of not seeing the other, reconnect, have a good time together, and then go our separate ways, with the promise to stay in contact and catch up sometime, but of course, that would never happen. Life would get in the way, and the cycle repeated. Yeah, nobody actually cares about this very much currently. All this went on from about the ages of 16 through 19, and that's when I moved away for college. A year or so later, I bump into him at college. Dude, he's stalking you or something. This is not good. He had worked for 2 years after finishing high school and was now studying. We exchanged numbers, have a quick catch-up between classes, and he asks if it's okay to ask me out sometime. I mean, are you doing it now or sometime in the future? Okay, great, thinks OP. We got along well as friends, and we'd liked each other in the past, so I was looking forward to getting to know him on a deeper level. He texts me about a week later and asks if I'd like to have lunch with him the next day. I agree, and we make plans for the next afternoon. Super duper. The date started out well. We knew each other beforehand, so there wasn't as much awkwardness or nervousness. We have a bit in common, and the conversation is easy. The waitress comes over and asks if we'd like more drinks, and after she leaves, he asks if I noticed anything about her. I was confused, so I said, no. You didn't notice her checking me out? He asked me. She may have done, but in all honesty, I wasn't paying that much attention to her. I was pretty certain that she hadn't, but I didn't think too much of it nonetheless. That was until we went for a walk through town afterwards. The restaurant was near to a beach, so we went for a walk through town, and along the boardwalk, nearly every woman we passed, he'd make comments about her looking at him.
Well, maybe it's just because you're ugly.
Even if the woman wasn't facing us, even if she didn't look at us, she apparently was checking him out. Oh yeah, I caught a little bit of side-eye there, bro. She totally wants me. That's irrefutable evidence. She wants me. What the fuck are you talking about? How about you focus on the person that you're on the date with, the person you actually have a chance with right now. You're trying to demonstrate value in the most, shallow and vain way possible. But I don't know, OP said they're 19, right? So yeah, I guess this about tracks. So yeah, for the next hour, while we walked, I was subjected to comments like, Did you seriously see that? She was looking straight at me. We went into a small shop to get milkshakes, and he whispered to me after the lady had made our orders that she was fucking him. To this day, I don't know why he was doing that. I don't know if he did this all the time, whenever he was out, or if he was just trying to elicit a jealous reaction from me, in hopes that I would get all territorial over him, therefore boosting his ego. I think you're almost on the money there, OP. He's trying to demonstrate value in a way that, a stupid little boy would demonstrate value. OP says, I don't know the answer to any of that, but I do know I felt super awkward, and he seemed oblivious to me. His only focus being other women we were walking past, and him trying to convince me that he lived in a world where every single woman was attracted to him. Oh yeah, I went to the psychologist and they said I got a disease where I think every single woman in the world is attractive to me.
He just came back from the doctor's office and he just told me that I have this disease where I think that everybody's Forrest Whitaker.
It's a tragic ailment, dude. He asks me out again the next weekend, but I declined and told him that I didn't think that would work out romantically. He interpreted this as me admitting to being jealous of other women. I told him no, that was not the case, and I explained that I actually felt really uncomfortable with his constant pointing out of other women and how they all wanted to bed him. He then took this to mean that I was trying to be possessive of him, and again I disagreed. We had a bit of pointless back and forth, with him insisting that I was jealous. I got fed up after that. Wished him well, deleted his number. He just wants you to be jealous so bad. He needs somebody to care about his existence to that extent. It's kind of tragic in its way. OP says the change in this guy from when we had partied together and been friends to when we went out was just incredible. As friends, I never had any inklings or suspicions that he thought himself to be a gift to womankind. If anything, it was the opposite. He was just so kind and down to earth. There's a kind of silver lining to this story, as another girl from our college he had been out with messaged me over social media after he spent their date pulling the same stunt, but mentioning me by name, We got talking, and now we're really good friends, and still see each other to this day. Yeah, honestly, that sounds really cringe and weird, but I'll tell you why. It's 'cause he's 19. I can't sick gubbins on the boy. I'm sure he learned better eventually, maybe. God damn it, I hope. Just treat people like people. That's the whole secret, okay? Just have a normal conversation. Don't drag it into innuendo, unless it starts going that way. I think you know it's going that way. It didn't go that way for this guy. I think it rarely does. That's why he's trying to puff himself up. Or maybe other chicks are into it, I don't know. Oh my god, he was taking you out? I have to bed you now before any other woman stakes a claim on you. It's like a weird territorial thing. I don't know. We haven't done the studies on that bullshit. Alright, we're gonna move on to the next post. I could cram one more in here, I think. So let's pick a winner. This OP says, don't go out with a nice guy. Not even once. Come on, just give him a chance. Why you never give a nice guy a chance?
Girls don't choose the nice guys.
TLDR, went on 2 dates with a nice guy who believed that I owed him compliments and affection because he was nice. Wow, classic. Literally see it all the time. Classic. So, this is from about 4 or 5 years ago when I was in grad school. I've always had a lot of difficulty navigating the dating world, and at least I finally know why. I'm on the autism spectrum, so I have a lot of difficulty with eye contact, interpreting body language or facial expressions, and reading people's intentions. However, at the time, I didn't know that I was on the spectrum, so I was just like super self-conscious about my lack of dating experience, and was constantly questioning myself, and felt stupid, and believed anything that went wrong was all my fault. I'm pretty sure the whole being super self-conscious thing is a human experience in general. But I'm glad you're learning about yourself, OP. I'm terrified to take an autism test. What the fuck? No thank you. I'm not volunteering anything. Anyway, after some encouragement from friends, I signed up to OkCupid and decided to give it a try. OkCupid. It's just okay. It's alright. It's fine. I received lots of requests for hookups, which I ignored because that was definitely not what I was looking for. I had some conversations with a few guys, but they were only pretty short-lived. Finally, this guy, let me call him Richard. Get it? 'Cause he's a dick? Messaged me and seemed super interesting and charming. Richard's messages were littered with compliments that were nice to hear, seeing as I had really low self-esteem. He also worked as a musician. I was going to school for music, so it was nice to have that in common. I decided to give it a whirl and meet up for coffee. We get to the coffee shop and he's waiting with a huge bouquet of roses. Oh, how thoughtful. That's not fucking unwieldy or anything. Spectacle usually makes me very uncomfortable, but I thought the gesture was very thoughtful. He pulled the chair out, gesturing me to take a seat, and we began our date. After a series of compliments, he began to list all of the things that he absolutely would not tolerate in a relationship because he was worth more than that. I kind of figured, whoa, buddy, slow down. This is just the first date. But I also figured that it seemed perfectly reasonable to state what you're looking for and what you're not looking for. Yes, reasonable. Anyway, the date ended. He paid for the coffee. I thanked him and agreed to a second date. The coffee date had to be very brief because we had a limited time to meet during the day, and I didn't feel that I could get a solid yes or no yet. Once I get home, Richard sends me a text saying he had a great time and he's looking forward to our next date. I say thank you, that I looked forward to it too, and then I went to bed. The next day, I go to class, as usual. I put my phone on silent or turn it off while I'm in class because, yeah, duh, I'm in class. Once I have my break, I look at my phone to see dozens of texts from Richard. They started with, "Good morning," and more compliments, but as they progressed, they sounded very angry that I wasn't responding. I texted him back, apologizing, saying that I wasn't ignoring him, that I simply just couldn't text him while I was in class. He called BS on it, saying, "It's not that hard to send a text," and essentially said something along the lines of, "I should really bail on you for being so rude and inconsiderate, but I'll give it another chance since you're so pretty and seem apologetic. He also went on about how he was a nice guy and all he wants is to have his kindness and effort be appreciated. What effort? Harassing me through text? Gee, thanks a lot. I'm good. OP says, since I assume everything is always my fault, I apologized. Yeah, I think it took me a long time to break myself of that too. Our second date comes and we agreed to do something outdoors since I was dog sitting. He said he liked dogs and that he didn't mind, so we went to an outlet mall where they have plenty of places to sit outside. The whole time we're walking, I noticed that he refused to walk next to me and mostly stood very close behind me. He kept shifting around, and I noticed that he'd move himself to essentially act as a shield anytime there was another guy that was anywhere near me. I asked him about it, and he responded saying, "He's old school." And he was simply interested in looking after my safety. Dude, buy an umbrella. Pop that shit open if you see a dude trying to turn around. Check it out. Waddling behind her like a penguin, probably giving her flat tires, stepping on her shoes. What the fuck, bro? You need to be sensitive to her needs. Anyway, OP says it did seem odd since I'm literally walking a large German Shepherd mix in a public place in broad daylight. I felt like I was made out of glass the entire time. That's really uncomforting. He's never been around a woman before. He doesn't know what to do. How old is he? Again, maybe I could offer him leeway. But yeah, this shit does hurt my soul. Once we get to where we're eating and sit down, Richard opens up with a barrage of concerns that he has about me. He starts by saying I've insulted him by accepting all of his compliments without returning the favor with compliments of my own. You really need this, don't you? Your self-worth is really just that small. He said he didn't feel he deserved this because of how nice he's been to me. Being the naive idiot I was, I thought it somehow made sense. I internally screamed at myself for being rude, since Richard's not the first person to accuse me of being rude for something that I didn't even realize I was doing. He also said that since this was date number 2, he was making an investment. Yeah, he actually said that. And that I needed to do the same. He told me that even though we weren't official, that he expected any woman he went on more than one date with to be exclusively seeing him and nobody else. He didn't want to put in the money and effort if it meant that she would only end up picking someone else. I was literally being talked to like I was a child. I didn't say anything at the time because I actually felt like I was in the wrong, and I completely froze up. This guy feels like he has carte blanche to do this shit. People are so non-confrontational. Get in his face. Your investment is jack shit. What, a pint of Ben & Jerry's and I'm supposed to be bending over backwards? You ain't never done shit and you ain't never gonna be shit, so get your head wrapped around that. You need to, completely unfuck yourself before you stand a chance. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Anyway, it continues. Once we finished eating, I offered to split the bill with him, since I didn't want him to feel that he needed to pay for everything. I told him that it would make me feel better knowing I contributed. Richard responded by saying no, and that I could contribute by showing him the appreciation he deserved. After the date ended, I felt completely burnt out and exhausted. Dude, as anybody would, I do think.
I am sick of your shit. And when I'm not sick, I'm tired. I am sick and tired.
Just existing around this person, it's very hard work. A few days later, I went to lunch with some of my guy friends who had a lot of questions about my date. I didn't really want to talk about it since I was embarrassed and confused, but I agreed because they all seemed so excited. Are these guy friends gay? If not, they might be angling on you. I just want to throw that out there. I asked for as much dating advice as I could, since I felt like I had no idea what I was doing, and I felt like I was disappointing Richard. When they asked me to elaborate, I explained what happened, and they seemed shocked and super upset. Yes, the White Knights ride forth. Again, I thought it was me, but to my surprise, they were all pissed at him and explained that this was super predatory behavior. I don't know, calling him a super predator is kind of generous, isn't it? He's a fucking derp. He's an idiot. He walked closely behind you and demanded compliments from you. I'd tell you what a super predator would do, but YouTube would demonetize the video. And they explained to me what a nice guy was and that Richard was trying to weaponize my misplaced guilt and issues with low self-esteem to paint himself as this amazing man that's being victimized and taken for a ride. Yeah, sort of narcissistic tendencies. I guess I could see him being a predator, not a super predator. Needless to say, I told Richard that I didn't think it was going to work out and that I no longer wanted to see him. Of course, he complained that nice guys finish last and that I wasted his time and money by leading him on. I'm much more verbal now with friends if something doesn't feel right, and I'm aware that if you have to constantly talk about how nice you are, then you're probably putting up a front. So yeah, nice guys, never again. Yeah, he was showing some of those signs pretty early on, I do suppose. It's good that OP's friends were there for her and picked up on that. I'm not going to let my perception of them get hung up over a simple word choice.
Nice guy drop kindness like dog drop poop, expect praise, get stink, gubbins.
Yeah, what kind of gift is like you have to praise me for it afterwards or compliment or whatever? That's so stupid. Your head's all wrong. You got a lot of things to sort out before you go dating people. But I guess that's what you get from OkCupid. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the episode, friends. Sign up on YouTube memberships or Patreon if you like. We got Gubbins Pillows over on the fourth wall. Amazon affiliate link in the description. Thank you so much for supporting. Please share the video around if you would. And always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it. And I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.